I have to apologize because and you will find out why if I have trouble getting through this morning. I looked down in the front pew and the rainbow is there. So I just want to tell you that that will come into play in this sermon. But the rainbow is right in the front pew, right in the center. Rosemary has been seeking the Lord a lot lately. That's because not very many people are seeking Rosemary, and the loneliness hurts badly. Truth be told, Rosemary sometimes seeks the Lord to give him a piece of her mind, but she has developed a kind of relationship with God where that level of honesty is common. Rosemary believes, but her faith is being tested almost as much as Eric's. Eric feels as though he's 2 steps past the edge of the ledge, and all he has to stand on is the promises of God. But Eric wants more. He wants some evidence, a little sight to go with his faith. He's willing to do anything for God, but he wants to know exactly what that anything is, and feels terribly insecure in the face of an unclear future. Eric believes, but his faith is being tested almost as much as Michael and Lou. The Spencers have done everything they know to do to get help for their little boy Brandon, who has a rare, always fatal disease. In spite of the experimental treatments, the sleepless nights of prayers and tears, and the proof texts from Scripture, Brandon is only getting worse and will soon die. Despair has set in, and Michael and Lou have no clue what faith is supposed to look like when they have lost all hope. Michael and Lou believe, but their faith is being tested almost as much as Melody's. Just after she lost her dream-come-true job in a corporate move that left her shocked and speechless, both of Melody's parents were killed in a highway accident. In addition to the profound sense of loss, Melody's main sources of identity and security are gone, and she is left reeling. She always tended to gush a bit about how faithful the Lord has been to her. Now she has nothing left to gush about. Melody believes, but her faith is being tested almost as much as Nancy's. Nancy can't help but notice that the physical and emotional pain got worse after she started following hard after God and His will for her life. I thought it was supposed to get easier, better, she said to no one in particular. Nancy is tired of hurting and tired of being afraid of hurting. Nancy believes, but her faith is being tested almost as much as Ron's. Everywhere he turns, Ron feels buffeted by peers, belittled by employers, and attacked for strangers for no particular reason. He once said out loud that it feels as though he has a target plastered on his back that says, "Kick here," emblazoned on it. Ron is tired of feeling rejected, and sometimes wonders if it would be easier if he weren't taking his Christian faith so seriously. Ron believes, but his faith is being tested almost as much as Pam's. Pam is a servant to all who is anxious to please in any way she can. She takes care of her aging parents and helps her daughter with 2 preschool children. She volunteers at the church, manages a small boutique, and avoids saying no to anyone for fear of disappointing them. Pam says that God is the one who gives her the strength to do all she does, but apparently God is running out of strength because Pam just can't take much more. Pam believes, but her faith is being tested almost as much as yours. So what do we have here? A lot of emotion, that's for sure. Talk about your faith being tested. How about loneliness, insecurity, despair, grief, pain, rejection, and being overwhelmed? Pretty easy to push God out of the picture. Where is God when we need Him? It seems He's nowhere to be found. He seems to be there for other people, but not for me. In Hebrews 11, to have faith is to be sure of things we hope for, to be certain of things we cannot see. It was their faith that the people of ancient times won God's approval. It was faith that made Noah hear God's warnings about things in the future that he could not see. It was faith that made Abraham able to become a father, even though he was too old and Sarah could not have children. He trusted God to keep his promise, though Abraham was practically dead. From this one man came as many descendants as there are stars in the sky, as many as the numberless grains of sand on the seashore. And finally, Moses and his faith. Moses endured the sting of rejection from all sides. He may go down in history as one of the most rejected men to ever live. Yet it was faith that made the Israelites able to cross the Red Sea as if on dry land. When the Egyptians tried to do it, the water swallowed them up. How do we face fear when our faith is being tested and your feelings are screaming for relief? The answer is in Hebrews 11:6. No one can please God without faith. For whoever comes to God must have faith that God exists and rewards those who seek him. Clarification, validation as to why my faith is being tested. As the song goes, and I am dating myself, I just can't find the answers to the questions that keep going through my mind. Hey babe, 1977, and a song entitled, Isn't It Time, by the Babies. So what did I do today? I asked God to pay us a visit, right here in First Parish Church in the sanctuary. He's here. You can't see him, of course, but he's sitting in the front pew, right-hand side. Figured it was only appropriate. I made a deal with God, and as a courtesy, he accepted, seeing that this faith issue was so important to me, and he wanted to help me out. I told God that I wanted to run this as sort of a mock trial. God graciously accepted and said he would be more than happy to help me out. You've got to understand here that I am putting God on trial. I wasn't surprised that God refused the defense attorney, saying that he could plead his own case. I, on the other hand, will need a lot of moral support. And I told God that I would be asking people in the congregation this morning if they thought their faith was being tested. I didn't want to put anybody on the spot, so I told God I would simply have you wiggle your toes if you think your faith is being tested. And of course, he would know who you are, as he is God. I must admit that there was a brief moment in my mind reflecting on the movie A Few Good Men. Of course, I was Tom Cruise. And God, Jack Nicholson, playing his part, it just didn't seem right. I do want answers, though, and I want them today. My opening statement and a simple question for God as my faith is truly being tested. There are a lot of crazy and horrible things going on in this world today, and just within the last 7 months. Some people call them natural disasters. What's so natural about a disaster? And what about acts of God? Is God responsible for all of these acts? October 30th, 2012, Hurricane Sandy. December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook in Newtown, Connecticut. February 8th in the blizzard of 2013. April 15th, 2013, and the Boston Marathon bombings. April 23rd, 2013, and the Texas fertilizer plant explosion, and not to mention that we've got a young kid in North Korea who wants to push the button. Are we playing out Revelation here in the Bible? Some of this I may be able to comprehend. But there have been too many tragic deaths of young children, innocent children, recently. On December 30th, 2012, my best friend at the post office, Diego, lost his 2.5-year-old son, Gabriel Philip Ramirez. Diego and his wife Hillary and their 5-year-old son, Emmanuel, did everything they were supposed to do. Everybody had the flu this season, and Diego and his family had been in constant communication with the doctors concerning their conditions. But after a thorough autopsy and months of tests, the cause of death for Gabriel was influenza. Gabriel died of the flu. 2.5-year-old boys are not supposed to die from the flu, but they do. God, please make me understand. I would like answers. God reflects. The Bible tells us that we could not understand the answer, even if we received it. Even if we could understand it, it would not help in our grief because they, those we lost, are no more. The answer to the question why would do nothing to take away the sorrow and the pain from the loss of our children. Our cry why is not to increase our divine knowledge, but to take away the pain of our grief. In reality, we are not asking why after all. We are just using the word to cry out, God, take away the pain of my grief. God, it hurts so much to lose a child I love so much. God, I hurt. Help me in my grief. God offers us the answer to our true cry as his Son Jesus Christ speaks in Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all of you who are tired from carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke and put it on you, and you will find rest. For the yoke I will give you is easy, and the load I will put on you is light. And in Matthew chapter 5, verse 4, Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. If you turn to me in your pain and bitterness, I will send my Holy Spirit, the Comforter, to console you and help you understand that I love you and I know your pain. You are not alone, and I will bless you in your pain and grief with a deeper understanding and experience of my divine love. Members and friends of First Parish Church, it is at this point that we have to make a decision. Do I turn to the love of God in Jesus Christ in my grief, or to the bitterness of a cruel world that has little meaning in life except more pain and loss? If we choose the bitterness of the world, your questions why will never be answered, and your grief will always remain in some form or another. Bitterness, anger, depression, you'll remain lost and without hope. If you turn to Jesus and offer him your true cry of pain, you will hear the voice of God's Spirit speaking to your spirit. I had a child too. He too was innocent. There was no sin in him. His name was Jesus. And he died a terrible death at the hands of evil men. Yes, I even caused it to happen. Because I loved him so much. I love you so much. That I would lose my innocent child too. So that I could answer your cries and prayers to make it stop hurting. I can't speak for God, but I do believe he ordered the code red for his son Jesus. Hopefully with this message, we'll be able to handle the truth a little bit easier in the future. Thanks be to God. Amen.